Many of you may be wondering what's going on politically in California and how can we make it stop? Well, good news. In electing Kamala Harris to replace Barbara Boxer as our U.S. Senator, we have raised the intelligence of our representation 100-fold so that our senator is now an idiot instead of a walking turnip sculpted into a shape vaguely reminiscent of Barbara Boxer and named Barbara Boxer. Senator Harris's inspiring stupidity was on display last week when she questioned Mike Pompeo. Pompeo is Donald Trump's appointment to head the Central Intelligence Agency, and Senator Harris grilled Pompeo on all the important things a CIA director has to know.
When, quote, CIA analysts look for deeper causes of rising instability in the world, one of the causes those CIA analysts see as is the impact of climate change. Do you have any reason to doubt the assessment of these CIA analysts?
Senator Harris, I haven't had a chance to read those materials with respect to climate change. I do know the agency's role there. Its role is to collect foreign intelligence.
Now, before you think Harris is being completely irrational, let me point out that she clarified her climate change remarks by saying that oleaginous winter chickens walk on the smoke-filled iron of Mandalay. And okay, that doesn't make much sense either, but it's a little bit more reasonable than asking a prospective CIA director about the weather. Senator Harris went on to raise another urgent CIA issue, gay marriage. Harris asked Pompeo if his opposition to gay marriage meant he'd be unwilling to hire gay people, which is very important because if there are no gay people in the CIA, who's going to seduce information out of those louche, olive-skinned young men wearing white suits and smoking perfumed cigarettes in the Casbah? Now, I do have to admit that these exchanges made me wonder if Pompeo was ready for the CIA job. After all, our top spy should be able to keep his composure even when irrational people like Kamala Harris are gibbering nonsense in his face about irrelevant issues. Personally, I want a top spy who can look at a blithering dunderhead like Senator Harris and coolly light the fuse of a bomb with his cigarette before driving away in his Aston Martin DB10 Spectre, preferably with a shapely blonde double agent with a 36 bra size as opposed to a 36 IQ. Instead, Pompeo gaped at Kamala Harris with an expression that seemed to say, uh-oh, I'm late for my Senate confirmation hearing, and I seem to have accidentally wandered into a screen test for the new reality show, 10 Random Questions to Ask a Guy. All the same, I feel confident that as long as Kamala Harris is one of California's senators, our homosexual spies will be cultivating sources among the clouds in order to keep tabs on any suspicious weather. Please get me out of California. Please. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
Yippee. it's the mailbag tomorrow. Hooray. Get your questions in. You heard this. We're bringing people to God. We're getting them married. This is a full-service podcast. If you write in, if you subscribe to the Daily Wire for a lousy $8 a month, you can ask your questions, and we will change your life, hopefully for the better. It could just be the other way around, but we'll try our best. Ask any question you want. If you don't want me to mention your name, you want to ask a personal question, go ahead. So here's what happened to me yesterday. I'm having coffee with Jeremy Boring, the God King of the Daily Wire, and we're discussing this thing that Trump said where he said everybody's going to get insurance, no matter whether they can afford it. And I said to Jeremy, I have no idea, because we're worried that Trump is going to veer off to the left because he's kind of had this history of going left wing. And I said, I don't know what he means when he says that. And I don't think any of the experts know what he means. I don't think his transition team knows what he means. I'm not sure Trump knows what he means. So I go home and I'm watching Bret Baier's show, and he's got Pulitzer Prize-winning commentator Charles Krauthammer on, and he says, what do you think of this comment about everybody getting insurance? And Krauthammer says, I don't know what he means, and I don't think his team know what he means, and I don't think he knows what he means. And I thought, well, wait, I'm doing Pulitzer Prize-level commentary here because nobody knows what's going on. Which is one of the reasons we here at the Daily Wire keep trying to get you to go and look at Birch Gold. Don't listen to what I say about it. Just go to the Birch Gold site, www.birchgold.com. www.birchgold.com/Andrew, and get their 16-page free information kit on physical precious metals. The thing is, historically, gold, precious metals keep their value more than cash. And the thing is that cash can be a very volatile asset in these uncertain times. So Birch Gold has this long-standing track record. What they do is they sell you physical gold. They will deliver it to your door. And right now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can even move your IRA or eligible 401k into an IRA backed by physical gold and silver. So go to www.birchgold.com/Andrew and get this 16-page free information kit. There's no obligation. Birch Gold has a long-standing track record of continued success, thousands of satisfied clients, countless 5-star reviews, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. I don't think there is anything above the A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Contact Birch Gold for this free information kit on physical precious metals. It's a 16-page kit which reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can legally move your IRA or 401k out of risky stocks and bonds and into a precious metals IRA. No cost, no obligation. Get the kit. Really find out about this. Whether you're young or old, you do not want the value of your investments to disappear. Go to www.birchgold.com/Andrew, www.birchgold.com/Andrew. And one day I'll learn how to speak, and you'll know where you should go to find this out. But you should really just check it out. Look at the kit. Don't take my word for it. All right. So Donald Trump is driving me and the rest of the commentariat crazy because he goes around and he says these things. And two new polls, and it seems to be affecting, whatever is happening, seems to be affecting his popularity. Two new polls, one from CNN and another conducted jointly by ABC News and the Washington Post, showed Trump to be the least popular incoming president in modern history. Trump's approval rating in the CNN poll released Tuesday sat at just 40%. 44 points below the 84% that President Barack Obama took office with in 2009. Okay? Now, Trump, of course, immediately tweeted out, these are the same stupid people who took the polls and said I couldn't win the election. But, a lot of those polls, especially the national polls, were right. They were right on the numbers. It just didn't occur to anybody that the national poll numbers don't matter because we have an electoral college system. Congressman Sean Duffy, who was on Trump's transition team, said what's actually happening here is the public fight that Mr. Trump is having with CNN and other media groups is taking some skin off his poll numbers, and it's gone down. But he says he'll get it back. The thing is, I personally, and I've talked about this, I have a piece up on PJ Media, my Klavan on the Culture blog at PJ Media that you can read. It was put up on Real Clear Politics, and it's getting a lot of response from a lot of people who agree with it. Usually, no matter what I say, somebody is attacking me, but this piece seems to have really hit a nerve. I'm feeling glee. I am feeling genuine glee because I had all these doubts about Trump. I still have them. I didn't like the way he ran his campaign. I didn't like the attacks on guys like Ted Cruz, his father killing Kennedy, all that nonsense. All that stuff bothers me. Obviously, the remarks about women, not, sad. Bigly, It's so all that stuff really worried me about him. I think he's doing great so far because forget about what he says for just a minute. And what the president says is important, but forget about it. I think his picks for his cabinet are serious. He said, I am going to pick the best people. Remember, everybody would say, well, what do you know about anything? And he said, I'm going to pick the best people. I know the best people. And he did. He did. These guys are great. I like them all. I like Tillerson. I like Sessions. I'm especially thrilled about Betty DeVos, is that her name? The education lady. She's up for, I think her hearings start this week. So I'm watching what he does, and it seems like he has learned something. The last 3 or 4 weeks of his campaign were different than the rest of his campaign. They were more elevated. They were smarter. They were on message. But when he gives these interviews, he says things, and again, I don't know what they mean, and nobody knows what they mean, and they're driving the commentariat crazy. Brett Stevens has a column this morning. Brett Stevens, very anti-Trump, really dislikes him, but it's a really interesting column because it's just, you hear the frustration, the craziness. While this is going on in Davos, Switzerland, which I feel that they should be renamed Versailles, because that's what I feel. This is Davos, Switzerland. They're all meeting. This is where all the globalist billionaires go, and they meet and they discuss, how they're going to globalize the economy. They've got it all figured out. And right now they're looking out the window, and there are all these people standing outside with pitchforks and torches, and it's like, excuse me, but I think maybe things are, they got Brexit, they got Donald Trump. People are saying we don't like this. This global movement that has been going on since World War II has done some good things. First of all, it kept Germany, England, and France from killing each other for a couple of years. They stopped fighting wars for the first time in history, so that was a good thing. Poverty is dropping around the world. Third world, it's virtually disappearing. The way that poverty is going down, really should make the heart sing. And in all these third world countries, a lot of poverty is vanishing. But in rich countries, inequality is skyrocketing, unemployment is skyrocketing, or in places like Britain where unemployment is not skyrocketing, wages are stagnating because these clowns want to control everything, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that socialism causes societies to split into two. Capitalism has this graded steps. You have the poor going up step by step to the rich. Socialism, it's just the rich guys in the government, the powerful guys in the government, and the rest of us. And that's what they have moved toward. Plus, people like their countries. They want their countries to be their countries. They don't want Syrian immigrants coming in, sweeping in, molesting women, holding these religious beliefs that are not compatible with Western civilization, that may not be compatible with civilization at all. Just because you sit in a room in Davos sipping champagne and you have a theory that everybody can get along doesn't mean you're right, and doesn't mean that life on the ground is any good. When you have places in Paris where women can't go, you have made a mistake, and it's on you. It's not on the little people. It's not on the ladies who can't go into these places anymore or getting grabbed in the streets of Germany. It's on you guys in Davos. And when they say when they elect Donald Trump, they're sending you a very loud message. And the thing is, these revolutions are frequently, how can I put it? Blunt. It takes blunt instruments. There's a famous quote. Let me see if I have it here. I think I do. There's a famous quote by Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke is like the founder of modern conservatism, right? A British parliamentarian, and he wrote a very famous essay on the French Revolution. Burke was right about everything. He was amazing. If he saw the French Revolution, he said, "This is bad." He saw the American Revolution, he said, "This is good." He just got it. And his reflections on the French Revolution, where he talked about the worth of tradition and all these things, is a founding document. Everyone should read it. He's a beautiful writer. And it's a founding document of conservatism. Here's just one little paragraph from it. "The most wonderful things are brought about in many instances by means of the most absurd and ridiculous, in the most ridiculous modes, and apparently by the most contemptible instruments. Everything seems out of nature in this strange chaos of levity and ferocity, and of all sorts of crimes jumbled together with all sorts of follies. In viewing this monstrous, tragicomic scene, the most opposite passions necessarily succeed and sometimes mix with each other in the mind. Alternate contempt and indignation, alternate laughter and tears, alternate scorn and horror." And so what he's saying is that sometimes, when these big changes come, they come in this kind of comedy of strangeness. And he talks about contemptible instruments. And that's what a lot of commentators are looking at in Donald Trump. They can't believe the things that are coming out of his mouth. So here's Bret Stephens talking about Donald Trump. And he says, "First, we had Donald Trump's press conference attack on CNN's Jim, you are fake news Acosta. Then a salvo against the pharmaceutical industry, which Trump said is getting away with murder. Mr. Trump also accused intelligence agencies of leaking a smear against him, asking in a tweet, 'Are we living in Nazi Germany?' This was followed by an interview with British and German newspapers in which Mr. Trump called NATO obsolete, dismissed the European Union as basically a vehicle for Germany, and threatened to slap a 35% tariff on BMW for wanting to build a plant in Mexico." The president can't do that, by the way. Oh, and the feud with John Lewis, the congressman from Georgia. We know about this. We talked about this yesterday. He attacked Trump. Trump attacked him back. "So say this for Mr. Trump," says Bret Stephens, "he has no use for pieties. Mr. Lewis is routinely described in the press as a civil rights icon. The next president could not care less. Wall Street Journal Republicans believe that business decisions should be left to business. As of Friday, those businesses will do as Mr. Trump says. NATO, too old. The EU, not salvageable. The Fourth Estate, a fraud. The folks at Langley, a new Gestapo. All this baits Mr. Trump's critics, this columnist not least, into fits of moral outrage, which is probably his intention. Nobody in life or literature is more tedious than the prig yelling, "Is nothing sacred?" Liberals intent on spending the next 4 years in a state of high decibel indignation and constant panic are paving the way to Mr. Trump's reelection. If you want to see this played out on television, watch Joe Scarborough go nuts discussing that. He can barely get the words out. Look at this.
It's exhausting. I mean, speaking of my rules, I also had another rule. We can fight one battle at a time. Don't come at me and tell me that you want to take on this, that. I tell myself, one battle at a time, all right? And we cleared the decks of that. And then this weekend alone. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to say, this does not last long. This does not continue. There is a breaking point. It is. He's not even sworn in yet. His numbers will collapse into the 20s.
Yeah.
If this continues. Just like Meek and I predicted, and we've said it, as you know, just like we predicted he could win the Republican nomination, I'm telling you this will not last. This weekend alone, Harold, he's in fights right now with the preeminent civil rights leader in America, with the entire intelligence community, perhaps the most important community to have on your side as president, and the most dangerous to cross politically, the single most important military alliance of our time, according to his own Secretary of Defense, NATO, and the single most important leader in all of Europe, Angela Merkel. That's just on this holiday weekend. This will not last.
That's great. He can barely get it. You think that was, you should have heard what President Obama said. Because he's a lame duck. Yay! All right, we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. The laughs will continue at thedailywire.com. Subscribe, and you can be in the mailbag tomorrow, which will be a little uncomfortable. But when we take you out of the mailbag, we will answer all your questions.